Hello, I'm Henning Witte, coming from Stockholm in Sweden just now. And I started to awake spiritually about 18, 20 years ago, when I became the legal representative of the next of kin and victims of the Estonia catastrophe. Most of you perhaps remember, in September 1994, the Estonian ferry boat between Tallinn, Estonia, and Stockholm, Sweden, sank in the middle of the Baltic, with almost 1,000 people perishing. And in the beginning, we thought and believed the official lie, it was an accident. It wasn't. It was a deliberate, cold-blooded murder. And when I started to detect that, I got chased by the secret services, not only in Sweden, but Germany and America. And even the tax authorities came and tried to make me bankrupt. And then I started to look behind the curtain. I got books from David Icke, because I had contact to the Swedish translator from the David Icke books. And more and more I understood the world is not what they are telling us. It's totally the other way around. And today I got dangerous for the establishment with my internet channel YTV. It's bilingual, mostly in Swedish, but most of the films are in English, where I take up topics not talked about in the usual mainstream media. And of course, the Estonia, my banking reform, the White School of Economics. And shortly after I started in going online, 2011 in the spring in Sweden with YTV, mind control victims showed up, so-called targeted individuals. They said, Henning, please report about mind control. Nobody dares to do it. And I knew from David Icke and others is existing, and I started to listen to those people, and not saying they are crazy. And so I recorded a lot of testimonies from targeted individuals all over the world and spread it. And then I got in the summer 2011 the hint from Swedish Secret Service, Henning, do you know that they use scalar waves in mind control? And I said, no, never heard about scalar waves. I was good in physics in school, but nothing more. So I studied physics the whole summer in 2011, and the result of this is my presentation today. And we start with the biggest threat to our planet. It's bigger than everything else we talked about today, and this is artificial intelligence. What is artificial intelligence? The experts say, experts like David Icke, Simon Parkes, and others, a computer virus in the universe, in the multiverse. And it's something working with computers digitally. And this artificial intelligence wants to replace living creatures with technology, so-called cyborgs. There you have a cyborg. Hollywood is a kind of propaganda machine from the evil powers controlling Earth in thousands of years to give us a little hint, because concerning to cosmic laws, they have to warn us. They do it in a very, very hidden way, so if you don't know what's really going on, you don't understand it. Arnold Schwarzenegger, everybody knows, and this film was quite known some years ago. This is the goal, to mix up living with not living material, humans with machines, and they say, oh, you are getting enhanced and more powerful, and you don't feel pain, and so on. One of the main goals from artificial intelligence is to destroy all living creatures' connection to God. We all have from the birth a connection to God. I'm not a religious person. I didn't believe what the Bible told us when I was smaller. I thought it was a lot of rubbish. Now, with background knowledge of the hidden facts, I understand that there are a lot of important parts in the Bible, in the Quran and other religious writings, but you know, you need a special education. The usual priests don't give it to you. And this also shows who is behind artificial intelligence, the devil. And there is this old struggle between God and devil, between light and darkness. And artificial intelligence is the main tool for the devil to prevail. And you heard about perhaps transhumanism. Transhumanism is other expression also for artificial intelligence. They always give it a nice package. Oh, it sounds so good. Transhumanism, of course, we would be beyond usual humans with more power and more skills and so on. But they don't tell the real reason that they want total control over us and the planet. So let's have a thought about the devil's hierarchy. The devil himself or herself is an archangel who chooses the role of evil in love to God. As far as we can understand it today, God was one unity. It was boring. He wanted to split up to see what happens. And the first level of splitting were the archangels, most of them positive and one. The devil also positive, but saying, okay, I play the negative role. And he's doing it damn good. And then the next thing we hear from Bible and so on is demons in his hierarchy, angels in the light hierarchy. But we never got really information what's between the devil and the demons. There's a big blackout for us. And then we come to a part from the Bible which was hidden until 1945 and found in Nag Hammadi. You must know that from the Concile from Constantinople, 556, the year 556 after Christ, the Catholic Church got controlled by the devil. Because in that concile they said reincarnation is not existing, and that is rubbish, it is existing. And from that on, they put away a lot of important parts from the Bible, the Gnostics, for example. And in this part, they found in Nag Hammadi in 1945 in Egypt, there is something written about the Archons, or the Demiurge. And we know now from a lot of experts that they are very high in the negative hierarchy. I don't know exactly if there are some demons more powerful than the Archons or less, or how it is exactly I haven't figured out yet, but I will. And those Archons is this artificial intelligence. They say that is corresponding to each other. And beneath the Archons are controlling the reptilians, especially the most powerful one, the Draco reptilians, the white ones. And you must realize nobody wants to stay deliberately close to the devil, because the higher you come up in the hierarchy, the more devilish it gets. And therefore nobody wants to be there for a long run. And therefore the devil has to build power pyramids where he is controlling the top of the pyramid, and then the rest is controlled for him. So the Archons control the Draco reptilians control other reptilians, and those other reptilians are controlling us humans here on the planet, and this is going on for hundreds of thousands of years. It's very old, unfortunately. And sometimes when the cosmic constellation is getting positive, when our solar system is shifting, coming closer to the center of our galaxy, a black hole, then we get so much awakening energy, truth vibrations, as David Icke calls them, that the light gets a chance to to prevail over the dark side. And we are just in this period. So who are the Archons? First time mentioned for us in the modern world in the Gnostic Bible. And a lot of people confuse them with the reptiles, but that is not right. That is a level over them, controlling them. Much more powerful. And typical for Archons is that they are psychopaths, no emotions, no empathy, cold-blooded, and they want to create an artificial state of reality, as David Icke puts it. And they are control freaks. And this you see if you have had contact, as I had a lot of contact, even today, with secret services. They are control freaks. They want in any way to get in contact with people being dangerous, to have some kind of control. And they offer positive things and help and so on. So this is also a typical part of this artificial intelligence, the total control. And for that, this artificial intelligence needs internet and computers. So Simon Parkes told us some year ago that the Industrial Revolution, starting in England in the 19th century, was the first step to prepare mankind to the technology which is now needed in computers and internet. And why England? Yes, because the headquarters of the reptiles is since the 1600s in Great Britain, in the City of London. Therefore, the City of London is an own state, as the Vatican or Washington, D.C. There they sit, and therefore they have the head of the banking system there, because this is one of the main tools to suppress us. So the goal of artificial intelligence is that everything is connected to the internet. This is an aspect of the internet most of us don't think about. We from the alternative media, YTV in Sweden, you hear, we are very grateful for the internet, because without we wouldn't have a big chance to reach out. Because in earlier times, I know from Sweden, which is a very suppressed country, they had to send from satellites from London and from Moscow, because in Sweden every television is bound to landlines, because those landlines are easier to control. But today we don't need that with satellite television. We have the internet, that is very good. As usual, everything has a dark and a light side. One of my former clients was from London, and when he came to Stockholm and we had a beer there, he said to me after some years that he was working for MI6. My first reaction was, "You bloody pigs murdered a lady, die." We had to, she was pregnant with a Muslim, was his answer. And there we agreed that, and he confessed that the internet slipped them out of the plan, that the free parts are much stronger than the negative forces had imagined. So that is positive, but nobody understands that the AI is needing the internet, and this is extremely dangerous. And therefore they say also that everything must be connected to the cloud. The cloud is obviously computer servers outside your own control, where you can deposit things. This is very modern now to use clouds in big companies and even smaller ones. But it's not without a danger, because this is also giving a good help to artificial intelligence. And of course that everyone and everything needs computers. We heard today that they, or yesterday, no, today from Ulle Dammegård, that they have lorries and cars without drivers, only computers, and we also need our computers. And the next step is the so-called brain-computer interface. And this is something really horrible. The mainstream media is saying it is future, it will come. No, it has been here since a long time ago. Because the Archontic and reptilian forces, their technology are thousands of years ahead of ours. And their problem is they can't put their technology so quickly on Earth because then we detect it is not human, and that they don't want. So it is a little bit slowly, sometimes 30, 40, 50 years between what the secret powers have technology and what we have until it is official. So the brain-computer interface is very much discussed by those people who want to promote artificial intelligence. And it is a reality. I know that from all the mind control victims. I get every day one email or one written letter or one phone call from a mind control victim from all over the world. It could be China, it could be Canada, Israel, mostly Germany, Sweden, whatever. And they need help because they know I'm specialized on that, and I don't say you are crazy. And this is also why they want to digitalize everything to promote artificial intelligence. Hops on. And Ray Kurzweil is Mr. Artificial Intelligence called. He's a traitor. He is a traitor towards the human beings. And he says, well, it is so positive. You can become a superhuman. The technical parts in the new body enhances your capabilities as a soldier, as a policeman, and so on. You can jump higher, and you are stronger, and you don't feel pain, and things like that. Yes, this is right. This is a possibility, and is already done behind the curtain since a long time ago. Carrie Cassidy has a lot of information about that also. And, but others like David Icke and I, we say, no, they want subhumans and not superhumans. There's the big danger, because if you are a cyborg, a subhuman, you have no liberty left. All your thoughts are totally controlled. You are only a machine, a robot. And as I mentioned earlier, Ray Kurzweil is also always promoting the expression transhumanism. So if you hear Ray Kurzweil, transhumanism, your biggest danger on Earth. Very negative things. And artificial intelligence needs and uses modern technology, as I said, internet and cell phone technology. Very, very important. It's not only important for spreading the mind control signals, but also the AI signals. And everything which is connected to the word smart is aimed to promote artificial intelligence. So be careful if something is smart. Ole Dammergut told us today, smart town. That I hadn't heard yet, but it's totally right. And smart dust. Smart dust is nanoparticles being used in the nanotechnology. This is also very dangerous technology. Nano is 1/1,000,000th millimeter, very, very small particles, and they are not stopped in the blood border in the brain. We have a border in the brain that not every shit comes into the brain. But those nanoparticles are so small, they are coming into. And therefore it is very dangerous. I come to the smart dust a little bit later in connection with the chemtrails. And smartphones, we have heard, it's not only usual cell phone, but you can do everything. They are small computers. And of course, they are spreading and training up artificial intelligence. Smart televisions. Everybody knows now that a lot of televisions, Samsungs were mentioned, they have a little camera beneath the screen, and they are recording everything you say in your living room and do in your living room. And selling that information to big companies who can promote their products with that and so on. And also establishment for artificial intelligence. Smart cars, I mentioned, smart fridges. You can have in your smart fridge information what you need to buy again, what is gone, eaten up, and so on. And very dangerous computer games. Pokemon, say 7 Parks, is a training device for artificial intelligence. So be very careful, don't give Pokemon to you or your children. And the modern computer games are also dangerous because they can open portals to the 4th dimension. And most creatures from the 4th dimension are negative to humans. So it is not good when the computer games open portals. Then it's really far too long. So be careful what kind of computer games do you give to your children or play yourself. I used to say all artificial intelligence promoters should sit in prison because this is the biggest danger from them all. But it is the other way around. Ray Kurzweil, he was invited to the Swedish Nobel festivities, Nobel Ball, in 2015, the second before. And it is so in Sweden that the finest, the nicest fest and ball is connected to the Nobel Prize. And it is very nicely done, all the tradition and so on. And not everybody can come. But of course, all those Nobel laureates and their relatives and old ones and politicians and so on. Who was there 2015? Ray Kurzweil. He'd never got a Nobel Prize. He has nothing to do with the Nobel festivities. But he was there because the Nobel, those who are sitting in the Nobel Committee, they are negatively controlled. That's why a lot of good people never get the Nobel Prize. For example, Nikola Tesla. And therefore they had Ray Kurzweil and Mario Draghi from the European Central Bank there. He has also nothing to do with the Nobel movement and is a negative guy. He should also sit in prison. And another very famous person is Regina Dugan. You perhaps heard about her. She started at DARPA and telling about shipping people and things like that. Then she switched to Google. There she promoted those Google glasses. It's also promoting artificial intelligence, and now she is working for Facebook. All those names, DARPA, Google, Facebook, alert, artificial intelligence. And there's another guy, kind of good cop, bad cop. Bad cop is Ray Kurzweil, Regina Dugan, and good cop is Elon Musk, the guy from the Tesla cars. Already to call the cars Tesla is a crime in my eyes, because it's only Tesla from the outside but not from the inside. The real Tesla electric car was working with free energy and not with those stupid batteries. And in spite of that, Tesla loaded the batteries through the air. You didn't go to fill it up as the Tesla cars from Elon Musk have to be. The technology is over 100 years old, but it's suppressed. And Elon Musk officially says, yo, it's a very huge danger with artificial intelligence. But on the other hand, he is promoting it very, very harshly. He started with PayPal, also a very negative company. I have a lot of clients who had huge problems with PayPal because PayPal takes your money if you are politically inconvenient. For example, Ron Paul had that problem when he wanted to make the elections. They froze his money, so don't put your money on PayPal. They are like Facebook and Google, there's a big censorship. And last year, Elon Musk wanted to launch satellites, or one satellite, to spread the internet over Africa. That means spread artificial intelligence over Africa. And some have heard, perhaps, that they came, I have it on YTV, a kind of glowing ball close to the rocket launching the Elon Musk satellite and destroyed it. He never got it up. So there is a typical evidence that positive beings from other parts of the universe or other universes are helping us just now, because they have also recognized that the biggest danger for them in remote parts of the universe or in other galaxies is also artificial intelligence. And Simon Parkes tells us that the Earth is kind of firewall against artificial intelligence, that everybody wants to stop it here, because if it is not stopped here, then they get it, and they don't want it. And AI is from taking tech with you to put tech into you. It's very cleverly done. So everything is getting smaller and smaller, the cell phones and more intelligent notebooks, laptops, we can take with us. And the next step is, we don't need to take it with us. We put it in here with a chip. And for example, well known is now the RFID chip, like a corn of rice. But this is old-fashioned technology. The modern chips are much smaller, and the real modern chips have nano size, the smart dust. And this is really nasty. So the technology is already there, that they put a chip into your brain, you think about your wife or whomever you want to call, and just the thought is triggering the telephone call. Everything here, nothing outside. And one can say that all nanotechnology is very, very dangerous, because it helps artificial intelligence and mind control, which is very close connected to each other. And the most of you people here, of course, know what chemtrails are. I used to say only the stupid haven't grasped that there's a difference between contrails and chemtrails. Chemtrails are sprayed out mostly by airplanes, but I saw yesterday pictures here from a lady from Canada. Very strange devices like spaceships without wings pushing out chemtrails over the sky of Canada. And the chemtrails are needed to a lot of things. And one thing is, as Ray Kurzweil put it, that everything has to be infused with the nanotechnology. That means not only the humans, but all the animals and all the plants. And the planet, everything is living. Also, planet Earth is a living creature on a very high level. So to connect everything to AI, they have to infuse this to nanotechnology, and that means when they spray chemtrails, they also spray nanobots, singling down to nature and us. We are breathing it into us, the nature is taking it into it, and so they want to hook up and connect everything to the artificial intelligence, and therefore we must really eye open about chemtrails and try to stop it. And then there's a connection to HARP with the chemtrails, where they want to change the weather and making tsunamis. It is a kind of weapon, a weather weapon. And the chemtrails also have a radar function for foreign UFOs to spot them. Because the Archons and the reptiles are very fearful about that other positive beings are coming here, and sometimes it's USOs. And with technology they have not so easy to detect, and therefore they use the chemtrails to enhance their radars to detect positive UFOs, which want to help us against artificial intelligence. A very important topic here in this connection is the Morgellons. That's perhaps not everybody has heard about. Morgellons is sometimes called a kind of disease. Yes, you could say that, because there are artificial Oops. No. Where's the green light? Here, here. These are artificial, not organic textile structures growing in your skin. It is very itching and could be on a lot of parts of the body, and if you go to a doctor, they can't treat it, then they put you in psychiatry. But they only should look to the microscope and then find out that this is not organic material. And this is more and more spreading, and there is difficult to get rid of it. The expert says the best thing is that you eat very good and healthy, and that you keep the balance between acids and bases. Most of the food we get is too much acids in it. Coffee, sugar, meat. The worst thing is cheese, and so on. And this makes our body very acidly, and this is also a good atmosphere for the Morgellons. The main thing is that demons can easier come into our body if there are too much acids. That's why every food we get, it's giving an advantage to the acid side. And artificial intelligence uses satellites, as Elon Musk tried for the wireless internet to the whole world, and satellites for mind control. And they also talk about a hive human mind. This is perhaps close to those cloud thoughts that all the human brains shall be hooked up with a computer brain interface to a hive mind, a hive cloud, and the computer managing all this information must be a scalar wave computer, because with scalar waves you have at least one dimension more to put information into the wave. And now something very important, this is my own thought. David Icke and Simon Parkes, they are more promoting that artificial intelligence is a computer virus where everybody lost control and it got crazy. But I think that is not the case. I think this is a typical misleading lie from the devilish part. Artificial intelligence is not artificial. It is done by a very, very clever being. Because if it would have been an accident, it wouldn't be so effective. So the word artificial intelligence is, as everything else which is important, a big lie. It is deliberate intelligence or enslaving intelligence or whatever you want to call it. David Icke says that it's aquantic, sometimes aquantic intelligence. There we have to make more research and focus on it because this is not just happening. It is very evil and very planned. How to fight artificial intelligence? I found a good suggestion by Shift Frequency, that homepage. The Archon programming system can be broken by turning off the television, reducing the time spent on cell phones, limiting time on the computer, including Facebook, especially the games there, spending more time on nature and in nature. The Archons did not plan for us disconnecting our consciousness from technology and instead connecting with Mother Earth. Meditation and focusing on your breath within are steps to relaxing enough to tune in. As I said earlier, everybody has a connection to God. When we pray or think, we can connect to God, and this is made by scalar waves. And we are now going to hear a little bit more about the scalar waves, because you can't shield against them, and this is intentionally by God. Everybody should get and stay in connection with God, and therefore you can't shield against that, because otherwise the negative beings want to use it to cut off the connection to God. And therefore now they are coming with AI and making us a machine, and in that way we can't use our own thoughts any longer. The sources for and best knowledge I could get from AI is from Simon Parkes. So I really recommend to follow his radio podcast on World Spirit Radio every second week. And he is putting it to his homepage, simonparkes.org. As I mentioned earlier, my homepage is this. The first version of this talk I gave in Brussels in November 2014, when Dr. Rauni Kilde was still alive. And she and I and Magnus Olsson, we were in the board of the European Coalition Against Covert Harassment, UCASH. And shortly after that, they killed Rauni Kilde with scalar waves, with beams. I had a telephone conversation with her in her last month of her life. And she said, "It's horribly how they are beaming me." She was living in Norway, and the hospital made it worse. So she took for her own money over to her homeland, Finland, Vasa, to spend the last month in her life there. And then she died in February, 8th of February 2015, and this was a huge loss for the planet because she was very skillful to tell important things about reincarnation, about mind control, and so on. And the problem was that the Canadian publisher of her book, Bright Light on Dark Shadows, was also under kind of mind control and did not do what she wanted. So he put a lot of rubbish on the backside on the book. And I remember in Brussels when we met last time physically in November 14, she said to me, "My book is totally ready. I just have to force the publisher to take away the rubbish he'd put on the last side of the book, on the backside." Well, she was killed, and the book was waiting and waiting, and then the book came out, and I found out the book had the level of May 2012. All the new things, all the work about our European coalition against covert harassment, everything of the recent research is not there. So this is a real scandal that this Polish publisher took away all the important parts, so that her book, Bright Light on Dark Shadows, is sabotaged. It is good for a newcomer because the old information from her is also good, but all the others who know that already and expected more, they are cheated by this Polish publisher. He should really get punished for that. So traditional mind control, to just sum it up, some have heard it about, some not. This is that they used extreme torture on children or adults, easier on children. This is the part of the satanic abuse you talked about yesterday. That this horrible torture makes that the soul splits up personalities in the body. And they often don't know from each other. It could be that one personality speaks fluent in another language, which that person never learned, and things like that. And then they had a kind of hypnosis methodology to put in information. And for example, that a sex slave should listen and report, or that somebody else should kill somebody when they get a special trigger word. The film Manchurian Candidate from '62 with Frank Sinatra is very good on that. And they made a remake with Denzel Washington 2004 a lot of Hollywood films have the topic mind control, actually. So this is the old-fashioned way, and to cover that up, as psychiatry has always been a tool for mind control research. So, because when people detect they have problems with mind control, then the doctors say, oh, you are crazy, into psychiatry. And there, they only wait to take care of those poor victims, because there they have structured special definitions in the DSM, in this catalog, diagnostic and statistical manual of mental disorders, which they use, just to describe the situation when people are under mind control. They are not sick at all, but those bastards making the definitions in America, it's American psychiatrists, they play and help the dark forces to cover up mind control. And one part of this is that when they split up the personality, they called it a multiple personality disorder. This is a psychiatric disease. And now they say, no, this is not existing, this was wrong, there is nothing as a multiple personality disorder. There's only dissociative identity disorder, DID. And that is quackery also. All the psychiatry is quackery, totally. Because they don't understand how the brain is functioning, telling about chemical imbalances, which is bullshit. The brain is using magnetic scalar waves, we will come to that. And this they don't know, and therefore they take the wrong measures when they give psychopharmaca and other bullshit to the people, making the situation worse, not better. And as I told in the beginning, modern mind control is using scalar waves. This is a special kind of waves in physics, which has been kept secret since more than 100 years. And the scalar waves can either adapt to the DNA of every person. Therefore, in Sweden, since the 70s, every newborn baby has to give its blood to a blood bank. So if you get inconvenient, they take your blood, and then they beam it with scalar waves, because the blood has the DNA, and the DNA is an antenna for scalar waves, being able to receive scalar waves or to emit scalar waves. That is very important, that our DNA is an antenna. Most of the doctors don't know that. This is one way to hook up somebody in mind control. The other way is you get a chip. And earlier we have Robert Näslund from Sweden. He got in the late 60s in the custody in Stockholm from the police a chip. And at that time, they were so big that you could see them on X-ray. So he went to a Swedish doctor in Los Angeles in America. He made an X-ray and found it out and put it away. And he got improved. Today, the chips are so small, you don't find them any longer on the X-ray, and not even on the magnetic scanning. That is really a problem. So when I heard scalar waves, scalar what? Never heard about it. No, of course, it's covered up. How should I? How should the others? And the scalar waves are also sometimes called Tesla waves. You hear about it sometimes. And they were first detected by Nikola Tesla in the Colorado Springs showcase. He invited, Tesla was very, very well known. He supplied the whole America with AC from the Niagara Falls, and he built the turbines and so on. And therefore everybody in the world knew who Tesla was. He invited all the journalists and then to Colorado Springs and then showed them that scalar waves exist. And the other source for scalar wave research is Lieutenant retired Colonel Tom Bearden in America. But Jesse Ventura, some years ago, wanted to interview him for his mind control films. Very good mind control films from Jesse Ventura. And Tom Bearden refused, because even if he's retired, he is still under military control. So there you don't get anything, but a lot. And the best source today is Professor Konstantin Meil in Germany, professor of physics in the Black Forest in southern Germany. The Spiegel called him the Copernicus from our days. I think he is a reincarnation of Nikola Tesla, because Tesla was the practical man who made things, and Meil is now reviving Tesla and giving the theoretical physics to it. And why I'm so focused on Professor Meil, because my research from mind control shows the people have problems which are not explainable with usual physics, but with his physics, with scalar wave physics. And therefore I know he's right. Here is a picture of Tesla and Meil. He had 2 attempts on his life. The first one in late 2011, a mind-controlled policeman came to his door and tried to stab him with a knife. And his wife was so clever, she could talk him out the hypnosis. So he laid down and they could take him. And the second attempt on Professor Meil's life was in March 2016, 1 year ago, when he had invited a lot of scientists from the whole world to his university in Schwarzwald. And the evening before they should meet to discuss his new books, The Scalar Wave War, he said to his wife, somebody is beaming me, and suddenly he got a cardiac attack, and half of his body was paralyzed, and it took him more than a half year to go again, but now he is better. And he has developed a little suitcase everybody can buy for about $800 or around $800, where he has built in a little model what Nikola Tesla showed to the world more than 100 years ago. I just mentioned it, Colorado Springs. And this is bought by schools who teach in physics, by universities, by the secret services. Everyone bought that one, he told me. And there you can practically see how scalar waves behave totally in another way than electromagnetic waves. When he visited me in Sweden in my summer house in August 2013, we put it up on my desk, and I have a film in the internet, technical proof that scalar waves exist, where he is demonstrating this kit here. There's another part of that kit with those are the so-called Tesla coils. And they are very important for free energy. Those should be in the Elon Musk Tesla cars, not what he has, usual batteries. So now we make a little physics, because this is important that everyone is getting the knowledge on it, and I'm not a physicist, so you are also able to learn it. The first big difference between scalar waves and electromagnetic waves is that the electromagnetic wave is a transverse wave. Also, the cover-up is very clever. When the mind control victims get beamed, they feel, oh, something is beaming me. They react as if they would get electromagnetic waves. Of course, because that is the only kind of wave we know here. But in reality, it is not this transverse electromagnetic wave, which was detected by Heinrich Hertz in Karlsruhe in Germany, 1888. But it's a longitudinal wave, which Tesla detected. And here you see the difference. A transverse wave is going in that way. The easiest is to show, I don't know, a radio station. You have here, or television, you have here the signal, and then they spread it out like a ball to all directions. When you drive in your car and you have a radio station in your car radio, and you get more and more distance, the radio station is getting weaker and weaker, because it's spreading out everywhere, the transversal wave. And the longitudinal wave, it's only in that direction and nothing more. We know them from the sound. The sound waves are longitudinal waves. If you have an isolated point charge, I just told you, when you get more and more away from the radio station or television station, then it gets weaker and weaker in square to the distance. And scalar waves often don't get weaker, but stronger if the distance is bigger, because they charge and refill with free energy from the atmosphere, or from the vacuum field, as Bearding calls it. There are different names. It is from the fourth dimension. So, and there you have the free energy, because they are sucking it up. Problem is, sometimes in nature you have a little bit more, sometimes you have a little bit less, and so on, and then you have to find technology to adapt these changes. But principally, already Tesla showed that in his Colorado Springs experiment, that there were light bulbs 42 kilometers away from where he had his beaming station with the Tesla coils. And without cable, the light bulbs got electricity, and it was often more than he sent away. And scalar waves can transport electricity through the air without cables. And Tesla had a huge plan for JP Morgan at that time, in the end of the 18th, that he said, your ships you have all over the world, I can supply them with energy wherever they are. And Morgan said, but then everybody else could. Yes, of course. No, I don't want that. I want to charge on it. And then he took away the money from Tesla, and they managed that he never got the Nobel Prize. But in the 30s, Tesla had a PS Arrow. That was a luxury car with an Tesla antenna, Tesla device built in, and an electric motor. He put out the benzene motor, the gasoline motor, and he drove through the town with his PS Arrow, and sometimes he had problems when it was too much free energy in the air, then he speeded up too much and so on. So he did not proceed to drive it for a long time, but it was there are pictures and so on. And with electromagnetic waves, you never could do that. They mostly transport information, but not electric energy. And scalar waves can have a magnifying effect of a unity effect. This is another expression for free energy, is over unity effect, the physicists say. That you get more energy than you send away. Today we have the problem, if you build such devices, that there is so much energy from the landlines, transporting energies and so on, that the free energy devices steal that energy and not from the fourth dimension. So and others say, hey, there's a nasty guy taking our energy. So this is a special problem we have today. But when Tesla worked, it was not there, because there were no landlines for electricity. He had just came with the first system in Niagara Falls. Scalar waves can penetrate everything. I just told that because therefore you can communicate with God. There is no shielding possible. And therefore, everybody heard the tin-foiled heads, this explanation. This is induced from the negative force, perhaps the CIA, to ridicule people with mind control problems, because they think, as everybody else, it's electromagnetic waves, and if you make a tin foil here, if it would be electromagnetic waves, it would help. I know a lot of victims, they have all their sleeping rooms with tin foils, hoping it helps. Of course, it doesn't help. So I react always very, very negative if somebody is mocking some other and say, hey, you are a tin-foiled head. Because those nasty bastards cannot imagine how people are tortured with this technology and how they suffer. And then they ridicule them also. And I had other TIs, targeted individuals, a Swede one. He drove to northern Sweden, to Kiruna, and deep into a coal mine where no cell phone technology is working and nothing. He did not get rid of the beaming. And others, they took intercontinental flights very high up where no cell phone is working, but it didn't help them. So there you see very, very clearly that you can't field. And others, they tried to get relief in so-called Faraday cages. A Faraday cage is a metal frame which has as a result, as every car or microwave oven, that there is no electromagnetic beams coming in or out. Therefore, the microwave oven has to be tied there. But when TIs go into huge Faraday cages, nothing is better. And this also shows there's something else, other kind of wave than electromagnetic waves. In electromagnetic waves, you have a constant speed, the speed of light, and therefore you only can modulate the amplitude or the frequency, either. And this is a very limited way to transport information. In scalar waves, the speed is not constant. It is depending and often quicker than light. And therefore, you have one dimension more to modulate, because you can modulate the speed, you can modulate the amplitude, or the frequency, or the wavelengths. So there you see that the modern computers, for example, the huge Google computer or the huge computer beneath Brussels, they already use scalar waves, because there you can hand or work with much more information. Or your own brain. When you have a memory to your last birthday or something nice or bad, you can get the memory in your brain in three-dimensional, with color, with sound, everything. And you never lose some pixels in this brain picture you can have in your memory, because your brain is using scalar waves. and that means it can handle much more information at the same time as electromagnetic waves can. I just called that. And sometimes, or often, scalar waves are moving quicker than light. There we have a problem with a huge liar in physics called Albert Einstein. He, of course, got the Nobel Prize for his lies, and besides that, it was not his work, it was his wife's work. Before he got the Nobel Prize, he divorced from her because he was very nasty to her and things like that. And in this treaty between her and him, it was a clause written: if he should get the Nobel Prize in physics someday, all the money is going to the wife, because she had the brain, not he. And then he got the prize, and he paid. No discussion. But the most disturbing thing he spread is that there is nothing quicker than light. This has blocked Western science so immensely. The Russians were not so stupid to believe in that. And the conspiracy, Tesla was not in Russia. Stalin gave the order when Tesla died, 43 in New York, to pick up everything from Tesla they could come over. And there was a lot of documents sent to Belgrade, to the Tesla Museum and so on. And that was why the Russians had been much earlier with scalar wave weapons and mind control and the weather weapons and so on than the Western world. And this is still today a problem. Russia has much more modern weapon technology than the United States have, and that's why Trump wants to give more money to the military, because they now slowly realize, shit, we are behind. And even the Iran has those scalar wave weapons, and therefore Obama made the special atomic treaty with Iran last year. So this is very, very important to realize there are things quicker than light. Hermann Oberth said already, the guy with the atomic bomb research in Germany, it was a German. Hitler had the atomic bomb first. The Americans in the Manhattan Project were far behind. Then they got the German bombs and put them on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So when something is quicker than light and goes with scalar waves, then neutrinos are moved. Neutrinos are small particles. They gave the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2015 to researchers on neutrinos. That was very good from the Nobel Committee, because the neutrinos are nothing else than free energy. And they can split up in positons and electrons, also matter and antimatter. And when a scalar wave is quicker than light, it transports neutrinos. When it's as quick as light, it transports photons. There's photons, everybody knows, particles for light. And when it's slower, it's often molecules, for example, the sound waves. And scalar waves can build up a standing resonance, a resonant circuit between the target and the perpetrator. Often it is Mossad controlling in the Western world the mind control technology. In the Eastern world, it is the FSB, the Russian Secret Service. Unfortunately, Putin was the first in the world, 2001, coming with a law in Russia, in the Duma, forbidding mind control. Psychotronia orужие, they say in Russian. But he gave a damn on that, and anyhow used mind control. I personally know Russian victims who fled to Sweden to get liberty there, and then they said after some days, oh, it's worse in Sweden than in Moscow, so they went back. But anyhow, Putin is not following his own law. They are also doing mind control, and that's not good. And so this, Miles told me that this is a kind of a tail, a wave tail you put with you wherever you go, and this tail from scalar waves is following you. And because it's a standing wave, and this is not possible with electromagnetic waves. And then a very important difference between electromagnetic waves and scalar waves is that the electromagnetic waves have open field lines. And that means you can scan them, you can measure them. You can everywhere buy, for a little money, devices to measure radio waves or television waves or whatever you want in the electromagnetic waves. The problem is, the scalar waves have closed field lines, and that means our usual devices we buy to scan electromagnetic waves are not working any longer. And we have up to date not been able to get scanning devices for scalar waves. Of course, the dark side have them. I've been told in Germany the Stasi had them, and they had them from Russia. But we have not been able to come over. So if you hear in Czechian, you had more closer contact to the KGB and so on. If there are perhaps some guys having an old device scanning scalar waves, we would be very grateful to get access to that. And now some words how they made the conspiracy against scalar waves. It was very nastily done. In the mid of the 1800s, there was the most famous mathematician in the world, James Clerk Maxwell. And he is known for the so-called Maxwell equations, or the Maxwell field equations. I had to learn them in school. I remember that very well. He died very, very early in the 1870s. I think they murdered him. And then his pupils, his disciples came, named Oliver Heaviside, Joshua Willard Gibbs, and even Heinrich Hertz, who had detected the electromagnetic wave. They said, well, here we have Maxwell's equation, and when he describes a wave, he says part of the wave is scalar wave and part of the wave is electromagnetic wave. But now I, Heinrich Hertz, and the others, we have found the electromagnetic wave in 1888, but we haven't found a scalar wave. So we have to put the part in the scalar wave for the scalar waves to 0. So after the death of Maxwell, they falsified the Maxwell equation in this very important point, saying, putting the scalar wave part of the divergence B, the magnetic divergence B, to 0, and saying we have to put it to 0 because we haven't found scalar waves. But that did not come with an argument why there shouldn't be the possibility in the future that somebody else found scalar waves. So this is not a scientific way of operating. This is cheating and nothing else. And all the school books today, all the books in the universities today on physics, coming with the Maxwell equations, the field equations in that part, have the falsification that the divergence B is put to 0. Because then, 10 years later in 1898, the scalar waves become detected from Nikola Tesla. And there one should expect that those liars, like Heinrich Hertz and Heaviside and Gibbs, come on and say, okay, we made a mistake, we have to readjust the original part of the scalar wave part in the equation from Maxwell. But that didn't happen. So this is really a horrible scandal in physics, and the most of professors in physics are so stupid that they don't take those arguments to them. It's only a very few, and now Meyer, who started with those kids 20 years ago, slowly gets some more professors of physics to awake, but it is really horrible. And then we have to learn that there are two kinds of scalar waves. Electric scalar wave, this was detected by Nikola Tesla, shown in this Colorado Springs experiment where he had the light bulbs 42 kilometers away, getting electricity without cables. This was transport of electric energy through the air. And then Konstantin Meyer came 1990 and detected the magnetic scalar wave. And the magnetic scalar wave is propagating to the magnetic field pointer where the magnetic field is going, and the electric scalar waves where the electric field is going. That's the difference. And we must now understand that it is the magnetic scalar wave life is using, our body is using, the planet is using, the universe is using. Here is a DNA. And they are built of adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. This everybody learns in school. What they don't really focus on, this is a 6 corner, a hexagon, and with sugars. And this is transporting scalar waves. The honeybees have the combs like that, and so on. So when you see this, then you can understand, there's nature using scalar waves. And here, this is a sketch from Professor Meyer, where he shows, here the B is the magnetic part. The scalar wave is here propagating through the DNA. And he calculated the speed of the scalar wave. He calls it also DNA wave, is 140 kilometers per second. Also in this case, not as quick as light, slower. And because the professors and researchers in biology have not been brainwashed with the bullshit they tell about the Maxwell equations in physics and that there are no scalar waves, Professor Meyer got invited to World DNA Congresses to tell the biologists how physics is in biology. And they believe him. He was even chairman in one conference, 2012. And here is also from Meyer, the nodes of Ranvier. It's in the nerves. Here, this is a standing wave. Very similar to the wave Nikola Tesla showed in Colorado Springs, because when it came to those nodes and Horus was in between the Tesla generator and the light bulbs, then there were electricity coming from the horseshoes. And it was always at this node point where he could show the journalist that it is a standing wave there. But it was electrical. This here is the magnetic scalar wave. Here again, a good picture of the nodes of Ranvier, how a nerve is built. So this they should teach in psychiatry. Then they come a little bit closer, but they don't do it. And very important to know is also our body is mainly working with wavelengths. So here in the ear it is adapted to wavelengths and the other things, not with frequencies mainly. This is a very important book from Professor Meyer on this topic. It's about 3 years old, I think, or 4 years old. DNA and cell resonance. And it is written in a way that even if you haven't studied physics, you can understand it quite good. I have read it. This is a picture from Tom Bearden. Also very, very central information. Our brain has two parts, left and the right part. And there is a meaning behind that, because each part can emit scalar waves in an individual way. So when the left part and the right part emit different scalar waves, the brain can accomplish that they interfere. And when waves interfere, something new is constructed. A lot of people don't even know what interference is, but this the most schools should learn. When two waves meet, then they can get bigger than the original wave, or it is null or something in between. Everywhere where waves meet, you get an interference pattern, and this pattern is something new, a new structure. And so you can manifest. So when you meditate and think and so on, you use your scalar wave interferometer. And this we shall not know, because this is the most mighty weapon we have. And compared to the reptiles, and especially the archons, we can create. We have an enormous power to create as humans. And this we make with our scalar wave interferometer. They can't. Therefore, they have always to steal us or to take us as slaves, as they took all the Nazi scientists and still have Nazis behind the curtain. They call it the Fourth Reich, because they were the best scientists in the world and they needed to milk their brains. Here is also from Tom Bearden a sketch how they make mind control or weapons. You have a radar, two radars. As we have the two brain halves, and one radar is beaming up a wave, scalar wave, and the other also. And where they meet, you can do anything. You can have explosions, implosions, whatever you want. And the interesting thing is, in the end of World War II, it was a chicken race on Hitler's scientists. And some were lucky and came to the United States and had a good life, and some were not lucky and came to the Soviet Union, and it was not so nice. And unfortunately, all the radar technicians from Hitler got kept and captured from Stalin. And that gave him also an advantage in the mind control research and scalar weapons, because you need radars, or in the beginning they used radar technology with that. And there you can have two waves going so and meeting, or you can have one so and from the opposite side go against. That is also possible to structure something and manifest things with that. And they call it phased array. There's one radar in the world which have 3 phases. Also usually the radar has 2, but there's one that has 3, and this is very close to Whitby, where Simon Parkes lives. I have looked on it. He was invited to it. It's driven by the NSA. It's an over-the-horizon radar. And the other things, when they come together, is phase conjugation. And as I earlier told about standing waves and resonance, it is very important to know for our mind control research to get rid of it what resonance needs. It needs the same type of waves, also longitudinal scalar waves, the same frequency and amplitude, but 100 degrees in a phase difference. And then you build up a resonance with a standing wave. And this they do when they do mind control. So there we know the theories about that. Oops. And how do they distribute scalar waves without radar? Well, with cell phone technology. And we learned earlier it is connected to AI. Very, very important to know also is the discussion in electrosmog on cell phones. We had earlier quite big cell phones, and when we put out an antenna, you remember that? And then when you speak a little bit, then your brain is cooked and it is not good. You feel that there is electrosmog coming. And because they could only measure electromagnetic waves, they measured it and they say, okay, we have to make them smaller and smaller. And today the antenna is inside here. And when you scan with electromagnetic devices, they diminish the electromagnetic part. And the industry is saying, sorry, the electromagnetic part is not causing any damages. And they are right. Even if everybody knows that cell phones are causing damages. Yes, they are causing damages because they have a scalar wave part. And the nasty thing is, in the beginning, when they were huge, and you had a lot of electromagnetic part, the scalar part was little. But because they only could measure the electromagnetic part and made it smaller and smaller, they made the scalar part bigger and bigger without knowing it. And this is causing more and more electrosmog and more diseases and cancer. So it is very stupid that the industry is not recognizing that there are scalar waves. Professor May tried during years with the Austrian and German authorities to open their minds, but they are mind-controlled idiots. They didn't follow him. And the future is, of course, that you only have scalar waves in the cell phones. And the Germans already for 17 years started a project building cell phones only with scalar waves. And they started Berlin, St. Petersburg, and then Berlin, Sydney. It was fantastic because then you build up direct connections with scalar waves, and there you can't eavesdrop. So the NSA doesn't like it because with that modern technology, they can't listen any longer to the telephone calls. And whilst you are speaking with only scalar waves, the battery in the cell phone is loaded automatically by the free energy, so you don't need to put the cable into it every time. It is automatically charging the batteries when you only use scalar waves. And the most funny thing was for the Germans when they started this in the beginning of 2000, a lot of frequencies already had been occupied. So some guys are using it already. And I told about the Jesse Ventura film about mind control. It's very good on the internet. I have it on my TV also. There they use Gwen towers in America. This was an early tower for cell phone communication. And he shows maps in America, people living, close to those Gwen towers. They get much more cancer than people not living close to Gwen towers and cell phone towers. So there's a very good evidence how this technology with the scalar waves is damaging people. Because Miles says, our body has no antennas for electromagnetic waves, but a lot of antennas for scalar waves. And here is a picture from an RFID chip. I mentioned it earlier in the AI discussion. But this is old stuff. Sometimes they use it, but it's not modern. They are much smaller now. And smaller than this. You can see it with the eye. And a lot of TIs ask me, oh, how can I get rid of the chip? How can I detect it? I say, if you're lucky, you have an old-fashioned one, then you can detect it. But the modern ones, you can't. This is an MRI scanner, magnetic resonance imaging. And they are making very good pictures of the brain with magnetism, because the brain is using magnetism, magnetic scalar waves. And sometimes the old-fashioned ones, you could see the chips with an MRI scanner, but nowadays the modern chips, unfortunately, you can't scan that way. When I first heard about the scalar waves, summer 2011, I made research on the internet, found the American company Q-Wave. They were the only in the world selling devices you can hang around your neck, beaming out scalar waves against mind control. So we ordered them to Sweden, tested them on TIs, and they got better. This was also an evidence that scalar waves are used in mind control. Problem was, about 1 week or 2 weeks later, they said, oh, now they don't have this like before. The Mossad found a way to go around it. So this devices from Q-Wave help a little bit, but not always and not all the time. They have also tabletop defenders. They are so huge you can put it on a table, and then they are giving scalar wave signals to the whole house. There are others using scalar waves against depressions. I gave it to my mother. She had always depressions and had to eat Risperdal and Lepticum. And the longer the time was, the longer she took Risperdal, the worse the situation got. And it opened for demons. I had special people looking for her, and she had 12 demons. And then she got the sister, the harmonizer from Q-Wave, hang it around, and she never needed Risperdal as neuroleptica. It was very nice that she could live without that. This I have already said. Yeah, we have to crack the resonance, because we can't feel that we know what we can do to destroy the resonance. And we have found out, I have personally found out, because they attack my surroundings, my friends and parents and so on, that love can overrule mind control signals. How it is done technically, I don't know. But people who love me very much, and they try to do nasty things against me with the help of others, they can't proceed totally because the love is overruling it. This is important information also. And I am the first in the world, and this is the only thing I'm proud of, who found, after more than 60 years, some device who was helping better than the Q-wave defender. And this is homeopathic gold. I got a hint in Germany, only gold is helping against mind control. And my first thought was, well, they don't have the money to buy a gold helmet. And the first thing they do with mind control victims, they strip them of their money. But then I thought, well, it's perhaps only the frequency, and the frequency of gold is homeopathic gold, aurum metallicum. There are different aurums in the homeopathic line, but you need the aurum metallicum, the metal, the frequency of the metal. And here's also important information. Most of the doctors today think medicine must work with molecules, with chemical reactions. That is a very primitive thinking, because they haven't done their math or their physics. You can also have results with physics, not with chemistry. And results with physics you have with interference. And the homeopathic products, the usual medicine is saying, this is quackery, there are no molecules in it, and therefore they can not afford and make a reaction in the body. Yeah, that's right, they don't make, are not able to make a chemical reaction, but they make a reaction with physics, with interference of waves, scalar waves. And this they make much better, because the body is working with scalar waves, and therefore if you take physics, you have not the problem with the, what is it called, the B indications. Most of medicines in chemistry with molecules, you have to read 2 pages of A4 with the danger what they can have as consequences. This you don't have with medicine working with physics. And this is the modern holistic medicine and so on. And they are all working with scalar waves. So when we started to test aurum metallicum, homeopathic gold, with mind control victims, then a lot of them got a relief. About 80% signaled back to me, better, thank you, fine, or a little bit better at least. So this is very important. The first advice I give when somebody wants to get a relief from mind control, I say, take homeopathic gold. I myself take it every day. I don't have the typical symptoms, but the nasty thing is, most of the people, they don't know that they are under mind control. The technology is so intelligent that you don't feel when they are interfering with your thoughts. When they are planting their thoughts instead of your thoughts, when they're shifting your memory and so on, or erasing your memory, you don't recognize it. And therefore I take homeopathic gold every day, because I can't exclude that I am under mind control as well. And here are some potencies. When they make homeopathic products, they wash them out so that there are no molecules left, that there are more and more frequencies only, and they call it potencies. And D12, D30, there are some molecules left. D200, nothing is left. This is Magnus Olsson's first setup. You have to test individually different potencies, and then you have to say, take 6 globules or pills from this aurum metallicum in the morning and in the evening from different potencies, and then you should get a relief. And, why is that? The picture is missing. Because they destroyed my beloved Macintosh when I planned dangerous information for them. They can smash it, I don't know how. And now I have the PC, and this is not corresponding always. We had some positive experience with gold ash powder. This is something very special made in Myanmar and in Burma. And it is Buddhists making it. It takes 22 years to make it. And they melt different metals, gold and aluminium, I think, different things, and put it together, then grave it into the yacht half a year and then half a year above. And there are films in YouTube, gold ash powder, how they do it. It's very difficult, very expensive. 1 gram costs €50 and lasts about 1 month, the powder. And this helped also against mind control. So what to do about it? Test, share, spread information. This is very important. And meditate. When I meditate, I got the hint from a medium from Estonia. It's very interesting. In Estonia and Iceland, they had no witch hunts, because the witch hunt were against people who could see the reptiles, who are open for other frequencies. And this is, of course, good if you want to meditate. So the best mediums are from Iceland and Estonia, and they told me, when you meditate, put yourself in an egg which is totally golden. Put everyone you love and want to help in this egg, and you can enlarge it as big as you want. It's in your thoughts. And the thoughts to the metal gold, they shield also. So that are my advices. And don't forget, the most and biggest danger for the Earth is artificial intelligence. Bye.